Hey, Raiders fans, let's get right into it because things are heating up in Las Vegas, and there's a lot to unpack about the roster as we inch closer to the regular season. One of the biggest conversations floating around internally is about the running back room, and more specifically, Raheem Mostert. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying this is a widely discussed topic in every meeting, but it's something that has been quietly buzzing behind the scenes. There's a sense that the coaching staff and front office are evaluating what each player brings to the table beyond the obvious stats and highlight plays. Ashton Gentry has emerged as someone who looks increasingly comfortable handling a lot of the passing game responsibilities. His skill set is versatile, and he's shown a level of consistency in practice and preseason that suggests the team might lean on him as the primary option. That opens the door to some tough decisions regarding Mostert. Mostert was brought in to be a reliable pass protector and a capable option in the passing game. But if Gentry can fulfill those roles, and if other players like Sincere McCormick and Chris Collier continue to demonstrate their ability to block effectively in the running game, the team starts to have options they didn't fully have before. It's also about the intangibles, and this is where the conversation really deepens. Players like McCormick, Lowe, and Collier, and even someone like Zamir White, bring more than just running ability. They contribute on special teams. That's something you don't typically ask a 32-year-old running back to do, and it's an important factor when the team is trying to balance roster spots. If the Raiders feel confident in Gentry's abilities, which I personally am, they might be willing to let Mostert go. The numbers back it up in a limited sense. Mostert has averaged around 5 yards per carry in preseason action, but has yet to record a touchdown or a first down on the ground, and his receiving stats, while showing a glimpse of potential, are modest. This isn't about taking away from his talent or his connections, like those with Chip Kelly, but the reality is that the team may see more value in keeping players who provide versatility, including special teams contributions, over someone whose primary role can be covered by others. It's a pragmatic approach, and in a league where roster flexibility often defines success, these are the sorts of decisions that can ripple through the season. Moving on from Mostert could free up around $1.4 million, which isn't a massive sum in the grand scheme, but it's enough to make other strategic moves more feasible. Every dollar saved, every roster spot optimized, counts when you're trying to build depth across both sides of the ball. Speaking of tough decisions, wide receiver Tommy Millow also finds himself in a position that's drawing internal discussion. Drafted in the 6th round, Millow came into the league with a reputation as a highly athletic and dynamic player, but the transition from FCS football to the NFL is not trivial. Even a Heisman Trophy winner or a Walter Payton Award recipient faces a steep learning curve. The speed, the complexity of the schemes, and the physicality at this level can be overwhelming for a young receiver who has yet to fully acclimate to the professional game. Millow has shown flashes of his athleticism in practice and preseason snaps, but he's currently buried deep on the depth chart, competing against more experienced and physically polished wideouts. If the Raiders' priority is to field the most competitive team week 1, there's a chance that a developmental player like Millow could be left out, not because of a lack of talent, but simply because of readiness and the immediate demands of winning games. It's a delicate balancing act. Do you invest in his future potential, or do you prioritize immediate contributions? If it were purely up to me, I'd lean toward giving Millow time to grow. His ceiling is high, and when you draft a player with the understanding that development is part of the plan, it's usually wise to allow them that runway. The concern is always the practice squad. If he isn't on the active roster, another team could swoop in and claim him, so the organization has to weigh risk versus reward carefully. Offensive tackle Theo Munford is another intriguing case. On paper, he seems like a safe inclusion in a 53-man roster, but digging deeper into the numbers and preseason performance tells a slightly different story. Munford has struggled in pass protection, and while his overall grade in some evaluations may appear respectable, watching him on the field tells a story of inconsistency in moments where he simply can't hold up against elite defensive pressure. The Raiders need interior offensive line depth, and if Dalton Wagner or other developmental pieces are ready to step in, keeping Munford just because he's a positional placeholder may not be the most strategic move. This is about investing in players who can make a difference when the lights are brightest, not just checking boxes on paper. Even small financial savings, like the $1.1 million that could be freed up by moving on from Munford, can be reinvested in other areas, whether that's acquiring a player with proven capabilities or retaining someone who contributes across multiple phases of the game. And this brings us to the defensive side of the ball, where the surprises continue. Linebacker Cody Lindenberg represents one of those tough calls that makes fans scratch their heads. He's a good player, smart, and has the traits you want in a developmental linebacker, but the team has also added veteran pieces like Devin White, Orlando Roberts, Jamal Adams, and Jermaine Pratt after the draft. That raises questions about how confident the organization was in its draft evaluation of the linebacker room. Lindenberg is a rookie, a seventh-round pick, and while he has flashes and a high football IQ, the bar is suddenly higher with all these established players competing for snaps. Cutting him would save around $840,000. Not a massive sum, but again, every dollar in roster spot can be crucial in shaping depth and flexibility. Comparing him to other young or developmental players, the coaching staff has to consider both floor and ceiling. Lindenberg's floor is safer. He's a player who can contribute consistently in a traditional linebacker role, whereas some of the more athletically gifted prospects may have higher upside, but come with risk in terms of immediate impact. It's about balancing potential versus reliability, especially when those roster spots are limited and the pressure to win is high. Another player to watch closely is defensive tackle Lucky Fu. When Christian Wilkins departed, Fu stepped into the Mion else who can step in immediately and provide value in multiple situations is the smarter long-term choice. Fu's ceiling isn't in question, but availability and the depth of the defensive line coordinators may ultimately favor players who can contribute in multiple roles on defense. And if Holmes doesn't fit into the evolving scheme, his roster spot could be at risk despite prior assumptions about his job security. It's a situation that highlights the tension between performance in games versus practice, the adaptability to scheme changes, and the overall strategy of building a versatile, competitive roster. Picking up where we left off, the depth of the Raiders roster and the decisions coming out of training camp are truly fascinating this year. The defensive backfield alone has become a chessboard of strategy, talent evaluation, and potential upside versus proven performance. Greedy Vance, for instance, has shown flashes of brilliance throughout training camp, demonstrating versatility, football IQ, and instincts that make him a player worth monitoring closely. Vance has the ability to line up outside, step into nickel positions, and even contribute in sub-packages, which is exactly the kind of flexibility the Raiders crave in a secondary that's trying to evolve in a more complex defensive scheme. Pairing that with Kai Blue Kelly, who has impressed with his speed and awareness, the team suddenly has options they didn't have when the offseason began. That's where someone like Darn Holmes becomes a tricky evaluation. Holmes has pedigree, connections, and moments of excellence in games, but the overall trend in practice and preseason reps raises questions about whether he can fit into a system that demands adaptability and constant learning. The Raiders' defensive coaching staff is clearly prioritizing players who can fill multiple roles and step in seamlessly when injuries occur, because the NFL is a long season and versatility is often the difference between winning a key game or losing it. Moving on to the linebacker core again, Cody Lindenberg remains an interesting case study. As a seventh-round pick, the expectations are often tempered, but Lindenberg has demonstrated a level of intelligence and positional awareness that makes him a candidate for retention despite the influx of veteran talent. The team clearly values his potential to grow into a contributor while also learning from players who have established themselves at the next level. This dual approach, developing young talent while leaning on experienced veterans, is a hallmark of how successful franchises manage transitions, and the Raiders seem to be executing this philosophy carefully. On the defensive line, the rotation is heating up with players like Lucky Fu, Thomas Booker, and others competing for snaps. Fu's situation is particularly noteworthy because injuries have limited his ability to consistently showcase his talents, but he has shown glimpses of disruptive capability that could make him valuable if he's fully healthy. Booker's acquisition adds competition and depth, forcing the coaching staff to evaluate who can contribute immediately and who might serve more as a developmental option. It's this constant balancing act that makes the preseason and training camp such a critical period for roster decisions. Shifting back to the offense, the wide receiver room is in a state of flux, largely because of players like Tommy Millow and the challenge of integrating FCS-level talent into the NFL game. Millow's athleticism is undeniable, but adjusting to the speed, physicality, and complexity of NFL defensive schemes takes time. He has the raw tools to succeed, but the Raiders have to weigh immediate impact against long-term potential. That tension is one of the reasons why young receivers often find themselves fighting for every roster spot, and why preseason games and practice reps are scrutinized so heavily. Meanwhile, in the offensive backfield, Ashton Gentry continues to emerge as a stabilizing presence. His ability to handle passing duties, contribute in multiple facets of the running game, and provide reliability when the ball is in his hands gives the Raiders confidence that he could be a central piece of the offense. This development, in turn, makes decisions around other running backs like Raheem Mostert more straightforward, because the team can allocate resources and roster spots toward versatility and special teams contributions, areas where Mostert may not provide as much value. The offensive line, too, is under evaluation, particularly with players like Theo Munford and Dalton Wagner. Munford has struggled in pass protection, which is a critical concern in a league where protecting the quarterback is paramount. Wagner and other developmental offensive linemen provide options for depth, and the Raiders appear to be looking for players who can contribute immediately while also showing growth potential. The nuances of offensive line construction often go unnoticed by casual fans, but the ability to plug in a reliable guard or tackle without a drop-off in performance can be the difference between a cohesive unit and one that struggles under pressure. On special teams, versatility continues to play a crucial role in roster decisions. Players who can contribute across multiple phases, whether it's coverage units, return schemes, or blocking assignments, often hold more value than players who excel in only one area. This is part of why discussions around roster cuts aren't solely about talent. They're about maximizing efficiency and flexibility, particularly for teams that want to maintain depth while staying competitive week to week. At the heart of all these decisions, though, is the ultimate goal: winning football games. Every roster choice, whether it a surprise cut or a developmental retention, is ultimately evaluated through the lens of competitiveness. The Raiders are striving to create a team that can contend immediately while also building toward future seasons. This dual focus, present and future, is what makes the roster battles so compelling, and why fans are so invested in the nuances of training camp and preseason. Player development, scheme fit, versatility, readiness, and potential all factor into every decision, creating a complex puzzle for the coaching staff and front office to solve. In this context, names like Raheem Mostert, Tommy Millow, Theo Munford, Cody Lindenberg, Lucky Fu, Darn Holmes, Greedy Vance, and Kai Blue Kelly aren't just roster spots. They represent the team's philosophy, its priorities, and the delicate balance between potential and performance. Watching these players compete, adapt, and grow provides insight not just into who will make the team, but into how the Raiders are building a culture of accountability, versatility, and competitiveness. Every cut, every promotion, every rep in practice tells a story about what the organization values most, and the decisions made in these final weeks before the regular season will define the identity of the team on the field. Fans who follow this process closely gain a deep appreciation for the strategy, nuance, and foresight involved in shaping a roster that can compete at the highest level. From offense to defense, from special teams to coaching philosophy, every detail matters, and the Raiders' approach this year provides a fascinating case study in roster construction, player evaluation, and long-term planning in professional football. It's a story of calculated risks, thoughtful evaluations, and the pursuit of both immediate success and sustained competitiveness. And watching it unfold offers insight into what it truly takes to build a modern NFL team capable of thriving in a rapidly evolving league. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling in the NFL community as Jakobi Meyers is reportedly set to join the Las Vegas Raiders, and fans cannot stop speculating about the seismic impact he might have on the team's offensive strategies. Sources close to the situation suggest that the Raiders, who have been in need of a dynamic, reliable wide receiver, see Meyers as the answer to their long-standing woes in the passing game. Analysts have begun dissecting every detail of his collegiate and professional performance, noting that his route-running precision, ability to gain yards after the catch, and knack for making contested receptions make him a potentially transformative figure in the Raiders' aerial attack. Rumors indicate that coaching staff is already excitedly planning how to integrate Meyers into an offense that has shown flashes of brilliance, but often struggles to maintain consistency against top-tier defenses. Whisper discussions in locker rooms and online forums speculate that Meyers' presence could alter the dynamics of matchups across the league, forcing defensive coordinators to rethink schemes and potentially opening opportunities for other receivers and the running game. Observers are also suggesting that Meyers' arrival could rekindle a fan base eager for explosive plays and deep field threats. Social media chatter highlights that beyond stats, his energy and work ethic may inject a new sense of purpose and momentum into the Raiders' locker room culture, something that coaches are rumored to prize just as highly as his physical attributes. The conversation has escalated into debates over how Meyers might synergize with existing stars, with some insiders quietly speculating that his acquisition could be the turning point the franchise has been yearning for, potentially elevating the Raiders into playoff contention and challenging the perception of them as an inconsistent team. While no official statement has yet confirmed the deal, the mere whisper of Meyers joining Las Vegas has sent shockwaves through sports media, leaving fans and pundits alike eagerly awaiting further confirmation and imagining the electrifying plays he could soon deliver in black and silver. As the buzz surrounding Jakobi Meyers' potential move to the Raiders intensifies, speculation about his immediate impact on the team's passing attack is reaching a fever pitch, with insiders hinting at a series of tactical adjustments being quietly discussed within the organization. Coaches are reportedly considering leveraging Meyers' skill set to create mismatches against defenders who have historically troubled the Raiders, exploiting his sharp route running and exceptional field awareness to stretch opposing secondary units. Analysts and fans alike are weighing the implications of a partnership between Meyers and the team's quarterback, pondering how his reliable hands and ability to find openings could lead to a dramatic increase in passing efficiency and explosive scoring drives. Rumors in the football world suggest that Meyers' presence could fundamentally alter defensive game planning across the league, as teams might be forced to allocate extra resources to contain him, opening opportunities for other playmakers to flourish. Conversations in forums and sports talk shows are abuzz with predictions that Meyers could elevate the Raiders' red zone performance, transforming them from a team that occasionally struggles to finish drives into one capable of consistently converting critical opportunities into touchdowns. Whispered insights from sources hint at an enthusiastic locker room atmosphere, with teammates eager to welcome a player rumored to bring both skill and leadership to a team in transition. The potential for Meyers to act as a catalyst for a broader offensive renaissance has created a wave of excitement, prompting fan speculation that this acquisition might finally align with long-held aspirations for a high-octane, reliable passing game. Moreover, insiders suggest that Meyers' style of play could resonate with the team's strategic vision, balancing speed, precision, and intelligence to maximize offensive versatility. Even the mere possibility of his integration is being discussed in betting circles, with odds and projections shifting based on the expectation of his influence. The rumor mill continues to feed a growing narrative that Meyers' arrival could signify a turning point, positioning the Raiders as serious contenders capable of surprising skeptics and reinvigorating a fan base that has been yearning for a transformative addition. The anticipation is palpable, and the buzz shows no signs of slowing as football enthusiasts continue to analyze every potential scenario in which Meyers could reshape the Raiders' offensive landscape. Sources hinting at Jakobi Meyers joining the Raiders have ignited wild speculation that could reshape perceptions of the team's offensive potential for the upcoming season, with analysts poring over past performance metrics and predicting how his presence might dramatically shift the dynamics of Las Vegas' passing attack. Observers point to Meyers' ability to consistently create separation, secure critical third-down conversions, and excel in contested catch situations as indicators that he could immediately elevate the Raiders' production in the air, while simultaneously challenging opposing defenses to adapt at every level. Rumors suggest that play-calling strategies are being re-evaluated to fully exploit his route-running intelligence and versatility, potentially integrating him into multiple formations designed to maximize spacing, tempo, and mismatch opportunities. Online communities and sports media chatter hint that his arrival may also catalyze a more aggressive offensive philosophy, encouraging quarterbacks to take calculated risks with confidence that Meyers can execute challenging catches under pressure. Discussions among pundits revolve around the strategic implications, with some suggesting that the team could transition into a more vertical attack, emphasizing deeper throws and dynamic scoring plays that Meyers is uniquely positioned to handle. Insider whispers hint that locker room dynamics are equally significant, as teammates reportedly see him as a professional whose presence could elevate morale and cohesion, instilling a renewed sense of urgency and focus. Rumor-fueled predictions suggest that defensive coordinators across the league may need to rethink coverage schemes, allocate more personnel to double-team him, and adjust blitz patterns, potentially creating cascading advantages for the Raiders' offensive unit. Social media speculation emphasizes the excitement among fans, who are already envisioning highlight reel receptions, clutch third-down conversions, and game-changing moments that Meyers might generate. Experts also muse on his potential to mentor younger receivers, subtly influencing overall team development and ensuring long-term offensive sustainability. In essence, the ongoing chatter paints a picture of a player whose skill set, work ethic, and football IQ might not only revitalize Las Vegas' passing game, but also trigger a ripple effect, reshaping defensive schematics, amplifying fan enthusiasm, and possibly redefining the trajectory of the franchise for the foreseeable future. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.